Hey, we're checking out right now. It's Saturday morning, second day of the Bassmasters Classic. Cold as heck out here, but this is what we live for all year long, just to make it to the Bassmasters Classic. Right now, I'm in contention to win. Look at all these fans out here, man. It's unbelievable. It's as cold as it is. Everybody's here. This is what we do. Go! Go!
Big hand for first champion of the Bassmaster Classic 1971, Bobby Murray. He's going to be our winner! Bassmaster Classic champion, big time! Denny Brauer has done it. Highest honor in sport fishing by Hank Carter. Gilbert VanDam shuts the door on number 4. Champion. No! It is now victory lane for Chris Lane, the 2012 Bassmaster Classic champion. Climbs to top of the leaderboard. Pounds, 1 ounce, Papa Hill. Gilbert VanDam shuts the door on number 4.
Day 2 of the Bassmaster Classic 2013. Tulsa, Oklahoma, our host city. This is Grove, Oklahoma, and Grand Lake of the Cherokees, our launch point for 53 anglers who are striving first and foremost to make it into the top 25 after today's fishing. That way they'll have a shot at the World Championship of Bass Fishing, a life-changing event. After one day of fishing, a tie for the lead. Cliff Pace of Mississippi, Michael Iaconelli of New Jersey. Robbie Floyd is standing by with Mike Iaconelli as he gets ready to go on this second day.
Co-leader on day number 2 of the Bassmaster Classic heading out. It's very cold, just like yesterday. Yesterday started off very well. Are you trying to duplicate that start?
Absolutely. You know, the cold weather intimidates a lot of people. People assume that they won't bite when it gets this cold, but a lot of times in the winter, it turns those fish on.
What is it about that area? You, yourself, KVD, there were several of our top guys in that general area. What is it about that spot of the lake?
You know, that area of the lake right now has the perfect water clarity. It's not too clear, it's not too muddy, it's what I call marginal water. And those big bass are up there eating shad before they go in and spawn.
Yesterday you had a lull in the middle part of the day. You also had 50 boats around you. Do you think that was a factor?
You know, a lot of spectator boats, they can always factor in. It affects the environment, and of course that affects the fish. But honestly, I think it's timing. You got to pull up on the right spot at the right time. When you do that, you catch big bass.
Mike Iaconelli going to that spot right now. He caught 21 yesterday, looking to do it again today.
Robbie Floyd with co-leader Michael Iaconelli, day 2 of the Bassmaster Classic. Mark Zona, Tommy Sanders here with you. And you could see from looking at those guys how cold it was, brutally cold, the first 2 days of this event.
Wind chills literally hovering around 0 all day long on day number 1. Hard on the anglers, hard on their equipment. But the amazing thing is, the fish are not supposed to bite in that kind of weather. They caught them all day long. But really, you want to look at our 2 co-leaders right now. You look at Iaconelli, years with the Bassmaster Elite Series, and he feeds off of energy on the water. When that camera's on, he is all about it. And a polar opposite out on the water. You look at Cliff Pace, Tommy Sanders, and the best way to put it is, he's not all about the cameras. No. But that being said, one of the best on the Elite Series. His number 1 trait, Cliff Pace had, if you really watch him, the dude has ice in his veins.
All right, 2 different profiles there. Knowing what you know about the second day of the Classic, which one of the 2 has the more likely personality to be able to power through this?
You have to go right now with Iaconelli, just for the simple fact he's been there before. He's won a Classic. He knows each day of the tournament is its own process.
All right, Grand Lake of the Cherokees has been a superb test for these guys as we look to find our world champion. They let this place know how big it was. They set it on fire here at the BOK yesterday at the weigh-in on day 1.
We have a tie for the lead between Mike Iaconelli and Cliff Pace.
To end up today when the day was over with 21 pounds, 8 ounces, for me was a gift. I didn't know for sure I could catch that. I thought what I was doing had the opportunity there. It was just a matter of going out and getting it to actually happen. And all I can do is just look up and say thanks that it did.
Boom shakalaka, giant bass.
I'm bewildered still. I'm shocked because I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of the weight of the fish.
21 pounds, 8 ounces.
I honestly thought I had 18 or 19 pounds coming into the arena. And when they stuck it on the scale and it read 21, that was a shock. I'm pretty shocked right now.
Any Bassmasters Classic that anyone wins is definitely a special deal, be it your first one or your 20th one.
It's been 10 years exactly since I won the Classic.
Be great 10 years later, you know, in a different era, you know, an era where there are all these young, amazing anglers coming up.
There's no question the Bassmasters Classic is truly the pinnacle of our sport.
Whether it was first or fifth or 10th, as long as you're in that chase, going into the second and third day, you've got a shot to win the Classic.
Oh, that is a cold, cold ride to start your day number 2. Just like day number 1, wind chills down near single digits. What's different from day 1, though?
Well, on day number 1, it was frigid and windy. Wind makes fish bite. Today, early this morning, you'll notice frigid and calm, and that is a bad combination. Right now, we're going to get out on the water with Michael Iaconelli on his first spot, and he wailed on him on day number 1, literally in the first hour, and he has a major problem early this morning.
It's so cold out that the prop is frozen solid. It is. I can't get the thing to. I can't get it off. I can't spin it. This whole housing is frozen.
Hey, Mike.
Trip, I've got a no trolling motor. Can I hop into my camera boat? Can I use his boat until my trolling motor's fixed, or how does that work? I've got no trolling motor at all.
Okay, you don't have a backup boat here.
I don't have a backup boat, Trip. So I can't get in this guy's boat then, right?
No.
All right. Can you send somebody? Can you send someone for me then? Okay.
I'm on it right now.
All right. Bye. All right. That ain't gonna work. They ain't gonna let me. So we're gonna have to swap this trolling motor out.
The Classic itself is a world of distractions. How bad is it, Mark Zona, to have this, in addition, happen first thing on day 2?
Well, really, Iaconelli caught all his fish in the first hour and a half on day number 1. So you see him working on his trolling motor right here. This is precious time that he cannot get back. And the other thing is, while you're sitting here working on this and having a mechanical issue, really, when you get this solved, you got to put the wheels back on the bus. Somehow, you have to keep it together.
Hydrowave's not working. Well, that's not the kind of start I had yesterday. Huh. The floor of the boat is like a wreck. I don't know how we're going to walk down there.
So co-leader to start this day, Michael Iaconelli, with his work cut out for him, trying to get things back on track, trying to get some fish in the live well. From our launch in Grove, Oklahoma, let's follow the path of Cliff Pace, tied with Mike Iaconelli for first place coming into today.
Cliff Pace, a very, very serious Bassmaster Elite Series angler, a meticulous technician on the water, and something different we're seeing here early this morning. So many anglers on day number 1 throwing jerkbaits, moving, covering water. Cliff Pace getting to his area, fishing his strength, dialing in with the jig. Very, very slow.
You know, for me, fishing is my passion, and I'm very competitive about it. But at the same time, when it's time to take advantage of the opportunities that you get, I put all my efforts towards taking advantage of them. I'm going to fish against the fish, and I know Ike's going to do the same. You know, there is no defense in this sport. So for us, it's going to be all just about what we can do and we can control. I know Ike will be able to keep his focus and fish hard all day, and I'm going to do the same. They do exist. Not a giant, but it's definitely bigger than the ones we hadn't got. I'd take 4 more just like him right now and not be mad at all.
Bigger than the ones we haven't got. That's a good way to put it. Cliff Pace trying to hang on to that lead He started co-leader with Mike Iaconelli, 53 anglers out there fishing for the top 25 spots, only the top 25. We'll move on to day number 3 on the second day of the Bassmaster Classic 2013.
The Bassmaster Classic, presented by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Tulsa, is brought to you by Toyota, Minn Kota, Evan Williams Bourbon, and by Yamaha.
Coverage of the final round of this Bassmaster Classic 2013 comes your way tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. That's when we crown our champion. You don't want to miss that. One of the big favorites coming into this tournament, a local favorite, Jason Christie, who has an eye-popping record on Grand Lake of the Cherokees.
And really, the entire bass fishing world, all eyes are on Christie this week.
A lot of weight on the shoulders, you know, a lot of weight. I mean, a lot of weight. But then again, there's a lot of support there.
And Christie said after day number 1 out on the water, he had an absolute flotilla following him around. He said, it's a positive and a negative. When you're catching them, you can feed all day long off that energy. But when they stopped biting Tommy Sanders, he said he was not so much about that flotilla.
Not real comfortable with that right there. It is a lot of pressure to deal with.
Stop! Day 1, Bassmaster Classic, first 5 minutes. It's on, baby.
But it was this bass right here that was the big negative turning point for Christie on day 1.
Come here, sweetie. Ah, dang. Oh, damn it. Good, too. I mean, like one of them 3.5.
And that bass right there, Christie was vocal about it after the day 1 weigh, and he said that bass spun him out for 3 to 4 hours, but he was able to make a comeback later in the day. Ended up in 6th place after the day 1 weigh-in.
That's right. He brought in 18 pounds and 12 ounces, much to the delight of the local fans there in Tulsa's BOK Arena. But the 2 big bags of the day, that man, Cliff Pace of Petal, Mississippi, 21 pounds and 8 ounces. An amazing display out there in some very, very adverse cold temperatures. And an equal amount, 21.8 as well, for Michael Iaconelli of New Jersey. Meanwhile, we're right smack dab in the middle of day number 2 and following co-leader Mike Iaconelli.
Let's follow his track right here to exactly where he caught him on day number 1. Just really around the corner from very popular Duck Creek. This is where his damage went on day number 1, about the first hour and a half, and he is back up and fishing after. Well, Tommy Sanders, a very, very trying 30 minutes, having to exchange his trolling motor. Michael Iaconelli can tell you the key is just keep his head in it.
Starting off the day on the wrong foot like that a lot of times can just, it's such a mental sport, it could throw you off. So the hardest thing for me is I got a lot of emotion, man, and I've got to learn how to channel it, you know. So I tried to stay calm and just fix the situation and then get on with the day. I think I've gotten better with it as I've got older, but still a tough thing to do. Here's a big one. Oh God, the giant. Oh, he's barely hooked. Golly. Ugh! 3-pounder.
And really, you see that fish right there. About 5 or 6 years ago, if what happened to Iaconelli this morning would have happened, he would be done. That is a great turnaround.
Again, Michael Iaconelli with 21 pounds and 8 ounces to tie for the lead on day number 1. Only one other angler busted the 20-pound mark. That would be this man, Hank Cherry, who is fishing right next to Kevin VanDam.
And Hank Cherry, another one of the anglers in the top 10 from the Carolinas. A lot of lakes very similar to this there. Hank Cherry said after day number 1, pulled up into his area and about 100 spectator boats were there fishing right next to Kevin VanDam. And he said, really, it was a blessing and a curse.
Well, I'm over at the mouth of Honey Creek, fishing with probably the greatest fisherman ever to walk the planet, except for my dad, because you know how your dad's got to be your hero.
My first spot I was going to, I get there and Kevin's sitting on VanDam. I was like, well, there's a good thing and bad thing. Bad thing is he's there, good thing is I might be doing something right. The level of respect you have to have for someone like that, and the things that he's accomplished and the things that he's done, and like I said, to know that he was fishing an area, or actually a specific spot that I'd planned on hitting, was, you know, kind of flattering. You know, if the best in the world finds the same thing, I must be doing something right.
The cool thing about this whole thing is, that guy over there, he's supposed to catch him. Me, if they want to find out who I am, they got to Google me up. You say KVD, everybody on the planet knows that guy. But, you know, he's supposed to catch him, and he's probably going to catch him. But at the same time, what better place than to make your name 300 yards from the best fisherman on the planet? There he is. Eat that thing, look at that, head first.
Hank Cherry plowing ahead in his very first Bassmaster Classic. Again, he's fishing almost within sight of Kevin VanDam, who is fishing in his 23rd Bassmaster Classic.
And the interesting thing about these two anglers right here, what happened on day number 1 compared to the rest of the field, Cherry and VanDam talked about huge numbers of bass they caught, both of them catching 20 to 30 bass. You have to wonder, sometime throughout this day, did these two anglers lean on them a little too hard on day number 1?
You know, the thing about this time of year, you know, you got to use lures that stay in the strike zone a long time. You know, you got to use a finesse bait or something, and a suspending jerk bait is really good because it hangs in front of them for a long time. But for me, even as cold as it is, you know, there's guys saying, hey, you got to leave it sit for 30 seconds. I can't do that, man. 2 or 3 seconds is a long pause for me. And I've been getting plenty of bites, so I don't think I'm doing anything too wrong. The real critical thing when you're doing this is to always fish it with slack in your lines. So you start and finish with slack, and you got to leave it pause a little longer this time of year. So when you got that out there and that bait's sitting still, I watched my line jump that time. That's a good one. Look at there, 3-pounder. You know, any lake that I've ever been to that's got a lot of bass in it has these black marks on it like that. And Grand Lake is just one of those special lakes. So, I mean, look at how fat that fish is. They're so healthy.
It's a great looking bass right there, and just like day number 1, the fish biting early on Grand Lake of the Cherokees.
The 4-time Bassmaster Classic champ started the day in 4th place. He's maintaining that position as we go on. Hank Cherry sticking hard in 3rd place. And our 2 leaders to start the day, Cliff Pace and Michael Iaconelli. Unofficially, we still have them neck and neck. So much more yet to come.
I'm a fish against the fish, and I know Ike's going to do the same. You know, there is no defense in this sport. So for us, it's going to be all just about what we can do and we can control.
Be great 10 years later, you know, in a different era, you know, an era where there are all these young, amazing anglers coming up. It'd be nice for an old guy, you know, I'm considered an old guy now, to come back and win one. I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it.
Bassmaster Classic presented by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. This is it, second day action. 53 anglers working as hard as they can to make it into the top 25 on the second of 3 days of fishing. You get in the top 25, you can go for the championship. Our Yamaha Lay of the Lake, 45,000 acres here. The Grand Lake of the Cherokees, 1,200 miles of shoreline. The Neosho River, the Elk River come together to make a special place. The special guys out here today, we'll take a look at Marty Robinson there from South Carolina. He's got a history here. Back in 2007 when the Elite Series was here, he started the final day of competition then in 3rd place. He's a talented angler, started today in 8th place.
And a big-time tournament favorite from Bella Vista, Arkansas, Mike McClellan, already has a tournament victory on Grand Lake of the Cherokees in the Bassmaster Elite Series. Mike McClellan very vocal before this tournament, catching enormous stringers. In fact, Falcon Lake stringers, 25 to 35 pounds a day. Well, he's going to have to upgrade to keep himself in this event.
The Bass Nation is pretty much the amateur arm of the Bassmasters, and one of the qualifiers is this man, Jonathan Carter from Maine. A first-grade teacher. He had to get down here between snowstorms. He had to fish in some tough places.
And Bassmaster Open powerhouse Tracy Adams from North Carolina. Huge day number 1 stringer, 19 pounds and 10 ounces, and he is dialing in on a technique.
Once you get it down on the bottom, the water's really cold, so once I get it bumping, then I just start barely winding it. Just try to get it to dig right across those rocks. It's just a long, flat point. Runs out here. It's about 7 or 8 feet. Just throwing that shad wrap in there and winding it real slow. That seems to be the trick. The slower you wind it. There you go. There we go. I don't think he's too good, but we'll take him right now. Pretty good. There we go. That's a little better.
Tracy Adams of North Carolina fishing in his 2nd Bassmaster Classic. Fished back in the one in New Orleans a couple of years ago. Having some good success here in a body of water he's obviously very much in favor of. Having some good success today. 2nd day of the Bassmaster Classic. Let's move over to Two Tree Island. That's where we pick up Cliff Pace, and what is he looking for?
Cliff Pace is fishing just a stone's throw off of the main river. And here's what's going on with Cliff Pace. He said the reason why he's only about 100 yards inside little guts and creeks. The reason why, it's 1 degree warmer. He said it's a matter of comfort, these bass getting off of that main lake. But Cliff Pace said it is a painfully slow bite.
Boy, I wish them suckers would bite my junk.
Yes. That's the kind right there, baby. That helps a bunch. That helps a bunch. Right now, every bite helps a bunch, but catch one like that's a real plus.
Something scary transpiring right now on Grand Lake. Cliff Pace jumping to a 5-pound lead and doing something different than the rest of our anglers in the top 10. Fishing a jig very, very deep. Cliff Pace is on to something in a big way on day number 2.
He has been locked neck and neck with Michael Iaconelli throughout this thing, and now he has put some distance between him and the rest of this field. Let's take another look at Jonathan Carter of Maine. First time ever to have a Bassmaster Classic qualifier from the state of Maine.
Jonathan Carter fishing a total different area of the lake than the rest of our leaders. Fishing in the Elk River. Jonathan Carter with a huge day 1 stringer.
Here he is all the way from Maine. His day job is a grade 1 school teacher, but this week he is a professional bass angler. The Bass Nation makes dreams come true, and he's digging deep in that live well. I think we're going to see a dream come true, and a whole bunch of first graders watching on Bassmaster.com are about to go nuts because their teacher is getting it done here at the 43rd Bassmaster Classic, presented by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino.
The kids are on vacation this week, so I kind of lucked out that I didn't have to take too much time off. If I could catch some big ones, then maybe I could do this for a living, you know. I'd love to. There he is. Yeah, that's a good one. Stay down. Coming up. No, he's not very good, is he? Better than we'll take him. Well, we'll take him.
If anyone should be ready for this kind of cold, it should be our guy from Maine there, Jonathan Carter. Through the course of this morning, he had slipped from 7th down to 9th. That good fish right there, a keeper puts him back into 7th place where he started the day. Now over to Jason Christie again. Jason Christie from right here in this area. Grand Lake of the Cherokees is his home lake. He'll tell you, he says, I'm Cherokee, I'm proud of it. He's got tons of fans around here. We'll see how many in just a minute.
Really look at what happened on day number 1. We're watching this footage. He had an up and down day. Caught quality, but also lost quality, and vocal after the day 1 weigh-in. One of those big fish spun me out for half of my day mentally. And really, in all the years we've covered classics, I don't think we've had a local favorite, Tommy Sanders, like Jason Christie. And he said he is definitely feeling the pressure of this tournament. And every day of the classic, we talk about it being a process. Jason Christie said, I've got to get off to a good start, build momentum quick. And so far this morning, it has been very slow for Jason Christie.
Ice is worse today than it was yesterday. She's tough, but that's how it is this time of year. You just got to keep plugging, and you don't know when your next bite's going to come. You don't know if it's a little one or a big one. You know, it's just you just got to stay hooked up and stay confident in what you're doing. You know, I don't have any doubt that this is the way to fish. You just have to hit the right place at the right time.
Christie said he is on a high-risk, high-reward deal here on Grand Lake, not getting a lot of bites through this tournament, but he's fishing for quality, not for numbers. And right now, Jason Christie not really doing either, not catching quality and catching very, very small bass.
Smaller bass has been the way for most of these anglers this morning, with the exception of Cliff Pace. He's the guy that's gotten the big one and has made the big move here on day number 2.
Really, what we're seeing is guys like Christie, McClellan, Ebers, VanDam not getting it done so far.
All right, we're trying to find a world champion, and to find that, we need a place that offers opportunities and challenges. This morning, at least for most of this field, has been challenging. Day 2 of the Bassmaster Classic, and we still have plenty of fishing yet to come. Plenty of big moves yet to be made. Don't go anywhere.
I don't take things as much for granted because I know at any second, you know, things can be taken from you, or you can lose things.
Come here, sweetie. Ah! Dang.
Oh, God, come off.
You know, I thought today would be more of a survival day, which, I mean, it kind of looks, if you look at the weights, it kind of does look like a survival day.
The prop is frozen solid. You know, for me, fishing is my passion, and I'm very competitive about it. But at the same time, when it's time to take advantage of the opportunities that you get, I put all my efforts towards taking advantage of it.
Yes. That's the kind right there, baby.
is it, day number 2 of the Bassmaster Classic 2013, Grand Lake of the Cherokees in northeastern Oklahoma. We have got some stupendous action going on out there. Tommy Sanders, Mark Zona.
Yes.
And look, here's the star now.
Yes.
Hey, we've got him.
Oh, yeah.
Star of television, star of the Elite Series.
Star of the world.
Hey, man, still to this day a record holder with the Bassmasters. Byron Velvick here to help us break it down.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I mean, I'm glad to be here. This is exciting stuff. Bassmaster Classic, Oklahoma.
Our guys are definitely catching them out there, Byron Velvick, but lethargic fishing.
Cold. I mean, this is cold water. This is 40-degree water, and these fish are just slow, cold, not a lot happening. It's hard for me to talk about slow because it's so slow. But the lake is still producing a lot of fish. And there are fish being caught all over the lake, but the key is the quality. Where is the quality bites coming from? And that's where it kind of comes into one specific type of area. I like to call them stop signs.
We're going to get into that right now. We're going to take a look at our leaders, where they're out on Grand Lake right now. You look at guys like Cliff Pace. Cliff Pace, a huge bag on day number 1. Right around the corner from Cliff Pace, Michael Iaconelli. And we said before this tournament began, right around that mid to lower lake area, that was going to be the major player. And it's all transpiring that way right now, just around the corner, up the lake. Take a look at Hank Cherry. And just to Hank Cherry's left, you see up in that corner, Kevin VanDam creeping around. But Byron Velvick, there is a theme looking at where these guys are at.
And it's so easy to see now when you look at it from this nice bird's eye view. It's areas that have deep water, really close, main lake, little pockets, and sharp, sharp, sharp banks. Big drops where these fish can suspend. They just kind of want to hover out there, stay off of a point, and just sit. And it's kind of that way pre-spawn, almost dead winter. I'm going to sit out here. I'm going to chill. Bottom bumping baits aren't going to affect them. Shallow running baits aren't going to affect them. It's going to be just pausing, slow, suspended fish bite.
And if you look right here, you look at these real tight contour lines. What that is, those real tight contour lines, very steep drops. These fish not relating to the bottom at all.
No, and that's exactly what they kind of just hover out there. They're eating baits that are suspended, and they're suspended. You got to put that bait in the strike zone and just let it sit.
And really what this is, these fish are just, they're close to that main lake, sitting there waiting till that temperature heats up in a few weeks. Well, to go in and make love. And we got to say that to Byron right here.
What? Wonderful. Once again, another one of those. But that's right, Zona. They are just kind of sitting there. You know, they're probably staring at the bank and waiting, and they're like, give me some sun, let it warm up on top. I just want to sit out here. I don't want to be too close to anything. I mean, the water temperature is a little bit warmer up there, but there's nothing to do except wait and maybe eat something slowly coming by.
Fishing similar areas. If you really look at it, fishing very, very similar baits, suspending jerk baits. And what this does, you're jerking that bait down, and as you say, you want it to just hover.
Yes. Yeah, and that's it. You want the bait kind of sits in their face. This is not a reaction bait. They're not chasing stuff. They're not running around. This bait is better off sitting still and just sitting there, and then they just go, whoop, easy meal, just low metabolism, aggressive fish.
So I throw it to you, Byron Velvick. You look at those baits right there. These guys are fishing basically the same kind of water and really throwing the same kind of lures. Does it just come down to you just got to outfish the guy around the corner?
Yeah, does it become that lucky bite? Does it become that bigger 4, 5, 6 pounder? I mean, is that the key here? It's going to be interesting to see what the key to winning this Bassmaster Classic really is, because what is going to differentiate these baits all hovering and the quality fish? It's going to be a game of big fish bites.
Is it going to come down to somebody saying, you know what, I'm going to get away from this by the final day?
That's a good question.
Making an adjustment.
I don't know if that's the case or not. I think that adjustment could really hurt a guy. Because what could happen, you leave that to go start something else, maybe nothing else is really happening. The other guys have proven it. The playing field has been really looked at. The shallow bites, the back of the pocket bites, not really working out.
I don't mind saying it. You guys seem to know what you're talking about, and for that I'm thankful always. Byron Velvick, so thankful for you to be here. Thanks for taking the time with us. Makes our classic. So much going on out there on the water on Grand Lake. When we come back, Robbie Floyd will tell us what and how fast things are changing. Bassmaster Classic, second day of 3 days of fishing for 53 anglers who qualified during 2012 to make it to this event. It's how we start our season with the Super Bowl of bass fishing. That third day will crown our champion. That coverage is coming up tonight on ESPN2. Taking a look at Tracy Adams from Wilkesboro, North Carolina, qualified for the Classic by winning the Bass Pro Shops Southern Open in his home state on Lake Norman.
All eyes on Jason Christie, the local hotshot. Right now, Jason Christie not getting a lot of bites, and the ones he is getting, barely keepers. Jason Christie needs to add weight.
Brandon Polinick of Idaho had a great Classic his rookie year at the Classic New Orleans a couple of years ago, finished in the top 5, and he's making a move today. He's moved from 11th place all the way up into 8th place, so we will keep our eyes on young Mr. Polinick as he gets things going on day 2.
We're seeing a common theme right now on Grand Lake. You look at guys like Tracy Adams, Hank Cherry, and now Marty Robinson rising to the top, anglers from the Carolinas. And Marty Robinson knows exactly what it means to win the Classic.
Well, it would mean a lot to me. I mean, if I won this Classic, I own a plumbing business at home, and I have an old work truck, and transmission in that thing needs a little work done. So, if I won this deal, I'd get that transmission fixed, and I'd be back, and I'd probably quit plumbing, but anyhow, yeah, it'd mean a lot to me.
We got time to catch a few if they'll bite. There you go. Oh. Finally get a decent one. Ah.
Good fish right there. And Tommy Sanders, do you know what that is?
What is that?
That is dirty, filthy country.
Well, whatever it is, it's working for Marty Robinson. He has started the day in 8th place. He's moved now all the way up into 4th place. So the angler from South Carolina in his second Classic doing well. In his first Classic from North Carolina is this man, Hank Cherry. He also qualified for the Classic through the Bass Pro Shops Southern Opens. The one he fished was on Smith Mountain Lake in Jasper, Alabama. He came in early yesterday, and he took some time yesterday to tell us exactly why that happened.
Well, yesterday coming back from the boatyard, I got off at the hotel and I slipped off the top step, which was frozen, and landed flat on my back and on my elbow. I didn't know that it was going to hurt that much at the time, just because you just don't know about things like that. About 1 o'clock, my hand would just lock up on the reel. I thought maybe it was because I hadn't eaten or it was just cramps, and it could have been. It couldn't have been from the fall at all, but I had a sharp pain the whole day, and it would just run up my arm to the base of my neck and back down. I've been dreaming of this moment my whole life. I've played baseball hurt with broke fingers, basketball hurt with broke fingers several times in college where I could barely even throw, but there was no way coach was taking me out of the game. I was playing. I'm here. I'm going tomorrow. If it hurts again, I'm fishing through it.
Bacon. That's big. No. Steady. Better.
A lot of our day 1 leaders catching bass right now, but size is the issue. The jerkbait bite so far today on day number 2 has definitely been affected.
Hank Cherry moving all the way past Michael Iaconelli into 2nd place. Another story that everyone's talking about. It's on everyone's lips at the Bassmaster Classic. Defending champion Chris Lane. The difference between his day 1 and day 2, Robbie Floyd has it for us.
When fishing the Bassmaster Classic, you have to deal with the highs as well as the lows. Defending champion Chris Lane yesterday comes in with all this enthusiasm. He's the defending champion, but he zeros, blanks, not one bass across the weigh-in scales. Today, he turned it around. 5 bass, a limit, almost 20 pounds before lunchtime. Mike Iaconelli says it all the time. Don't give up. You can never give up. And Chris Lane is definitely going by that motto today.
Man, I tell you, look at this. Just caught these 2 fish. These are the kind of fish that make the difference between yesterday and today. And you know, you go out there and you just never give up. You catch 2 monsters like that, you know, here on Grand Lake, and it's in the Bassmaster Classic. You know, my goal was to come out here and catch 24 pounds, make the cut. Not only that, redeem myself. Same spot, same area, everything. They just bit today.
Now to Cliff Pace, the man with the undisputed lead, a 5-pound lead unofficially at this point in the day.
Winning this tournament for me would be a gift. I mean, that's how I would look at it. It would be a gift. I'm very blessed to do what I do. I live my dream every day. Competing in the Elite Series is what I've wanted to do since I was on this earth. And for me to win this tournament, I would only be able to take it as a gift.
Come here, darling. Way to go.
Cliff Pace, one of the most consistent anglers, Tommy, we have ever covered together, but he'll tell you, the attention of the Classic is really a pain to him, whether it's the cameras or the spectators. But the one thing so far this Classic, he's used to it the way he did on the Hartwell Classic. But make no mistake about it, he is not all about the attention.
Well, we go from our leader, Cliff Pace, to the man who he's tied with to start this day. Now he's fallen back a couple of slots. That's Mike Iaconelli, and you talk about a different sort of personality right there. He really thrives on attention. He doesn't seem like it sometimes out there, but that's part of his makeup. He's got plenty of boats watching him right now as he tries to overcome a slow start.
There's a big one. Ah, 5-pounder. Got it good too. Four and a half. I thought it was 5. It's 4.5.
Miserable start this morning for Mike Iaconelli, but he has the wheels back on the bus in a big way on Grand Lake of the Cherokees.
Michael Iaconelli doing all he can to win a second Bassmaster Classic trophy. You know, one lucky fan is going to get the opportunity to take a fishing trip with Michael Iaconelli. It could be you. You want to check it all out on Bassmaster.com. Going to be a lot of demand for that fishing trip right there. This guy has hundreds of thousands of devoted fans. He is a one-of-a-kind personality.
For me and my personality, you know, I like to bring my passion out, good and bad. No! You know, when it's happening, I like to let it out. I'm from New Jersey, I'm Italian, that stuff just happens, you know what I mean? It just happens, man, I can't control it.
The Bassmaster Classic, presented by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Tulsa, is brought to you by Triton Boats, Nitro, and by Abu Garcia.
Fishing from winter through summer, Bassmaster anglers are exposed to just about everything in Mother Nature's arsenal. Torrential downpours, relentless big waves, even escaping a passing tornado or two. Here are the top 5 worst conditions we've ever seen on the water. Number 5, the 2006 Bassmaster Elite Series event at Kentucky Lake. Unstable air in late spring triggered huge thunderstorms that caused mass power outages and tense moments for the anglers on the water. But Japan's Morizo Shimizu was feeling the electricity of capturing his first Bassmaster victory on the final day. He powered through the downpours, and when the rain let up, he gave us one of the most entertaining celebrations in Elite Series history.
Big Mama! Yeah!
Number 4, when the wind gets up on Lake Erie, anglers start to get anxious. At the 2008 Bassmaster Elite Series event, deep water offshore fishing spots and buffeting winds made getting there hard and staying there sometimes harder. Anglers like Aaron Martins just had to hang on for the ride.
Stupid wave. It's a big one.
Number 3, the first wintertime Bassmaster Classic, 2006 at Lake Toho in Florida. On day 3, a fast-moving storm front created havoc for anglers and on-the-water reporters. But you can't punt at the Bassmaster Classic, and the anglers fished on. Number 2, 2004, Lake Norman in North Carolina. Freezing temperatures and even snow had anglers wondering about the bite and worrying about getting through the day.
See, it's supposed to be sunshine and warm, fishy lure.
Good God.
Number 1, the 2010 Toyota Trucks Week postseason event in Montgomery, Alabama. This time, it was about extreme heat and humidity. Skeet Reese battled hard to keep his chances from melting away before being blasted by heavy afternoon thunderstorms.
Gosh, dude, there's a 50-mile wind right there.
The brief storm cooled things for a moment, and it certainly helped to find whatever shelter you could get under. Then back to the heat as Kevin VanDam poured on the coals to capture his 3rd consecutive Toyota Tundra Bassmaster Angler of the Year title. The Bassmaster Classic is the single most important event in the sport of fishing. 3 days of fishing. This is day number 2. On day 3, we will crown our champion. You'll see full coverage of that tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2 as we take a look at our Skeeter rules of the game. Full field of 53 fishing on this second day. They can fish virtually anywhere they want on Grand Lake of the Cherokees as we go across to where we find competitor Tracy Adams, North Carolina. He slipped a little bit during the morning hours of this day.
We're seeing a big change here today on Grand Lake of the Cherokees. The jerkbait bite that was so prominent on day number 1. We've seen fish catches today, but not the consistent quality. Tracy Adams, as far back in a creek as we've gone the entire event, switching to the jig. Tracy Adams looking to duplicate his day 1 stringer.
Yeah, it's been pretty slow for the last couple of hours. I don't know, which I didn't really know if they'd bite that crankbait this morning like they did yesterday. It was a perfect morning for it yesterday. We had all that wind and had everything stirred up real good. So now we switched over to a jig here. Pretty much we'll stay with that the rest of the day and see what happens. We've already had a couple bites back here, so maybe we're getting ready to do something. I don't know. We'll see. Come on, Biggin. Come on, Biggin. There's the fish. The little one. We'll take him for now. I finally got that old jig to get one.
If you go back to the Classic last year on the Red River, shallow, grassy fishermen, the Lane brothers, Alton Jones. Here it's the polar opposite, Tracy Adams, Marty Robinson, Hank Cherry, guys that are used to clear, cold water.
Guys from the East Coast guys, eastern half of the United States. Here's another one, Jonathan Carter, about as far east as you can get, coming from the state of Maine. Jonathan Carter, who had a fantastic day 1 as well. He's another one of these guys that's trying to fight against the conditions, the slowdown on day number 2.
Unlike Tracy Adams, John Carter and a lot of our other anglers keying on these 45-degree angle slopes, little stair-step areas. That's where almost all the better fish came on day number 1.
There he is. It's a little better. It's about the same size as another one. I think that party boat's a bunch of Maine guys.
Woo! Come on, man. Carter stud. You're on my waypoint.
I am.
You're right.
There he is. Yes. Better. A little better.
Jonathan Carter of Maine, one of our Bass Nation guys, had fallen back a little bit today, but look at that. With those two fish we just saw him catch there, he's vaulted all the way into 4th place right there with Iaconelli and Cherry, yet he's still 6.5 pounds behind our leader, Cliff Pace. Now, another angler who we haven't checked in with since early this morning when he caught a good fish is Kevin VanDam. He has dropped a couple of positions during this time, going slow for him as well.
And all these anglers dealing with frigid, cold weather, and it really it messes with your mind. You're in the Classic, and you want to move fast because you're so cold, but the fish are so lethargic, you're not able. I mean, VanDam said it. He wants to cover water, but he has to fish fast in a slow way, and he's not able to move around a lot. And on day number 2, not catching a lot of good fish like he did on day number 1. And the other thing is, it's easy to mentally just shut down when it's this cold. You look at the day 1 launch, I mean, wind chills down around 0, and it's easy to spin out and get in a negative mode. Throughout practice, granted, we ran into snowstorms and things like this, but the fish were biting like crazy. But you can see we are on the backside of all those fronts right there, and the fish really shutting down on day number 2.
One of the things you got to be real careful of this time of year when your guides are freezing up. A lot of times I start the day treating them, but if you're reeling in a fish like that with a lot of ice in your guides, the ice can actually cut your line. So that's why when I hook one, I always stick my rod down in the water, try to melt that off there. You know, the water is 43 this morning, so it's cold.
Another one of our favorites, VanDam, like Christie, getting bit today on Grand Lake, but definitely the size has disappeared.
Kevin VanDam, the 4-time Bassmaster Classic champ. He has the longest streak going, 23 consecutive Classics. He was a big-time favorite coming in here, but so far he's not managed to get much higher than 4th place. But 2 fish fairly quickly, just past midday here, going to help his cause a little bit. And there you see it, Kevin VanDam officially 27-8. That has him in 3rd place behind Michael Iaconelli, who is 5 pounds behind our leader, Cliff Pace. Kevin VanDam is a one-of-a-kind guy. 4-time Bassmaster Classic champion. He is most definitely a force of nature. That doesn't mean that sometimes he doesn't have to fight it.
I really wasn't sure what was going to happen as cold as it was. I mean, it was hard at every cast. My guides and the line was freezing up, and it was just really hard this morning. It was just going out there and knowing mentally that I just had to really focus and fish a lot slower because the water temperature dropped a lot. You can bust a giant sack on this lake.
You're watching the 2013 Bassmaster Classic, presented by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Tulsa.
There he is. Come on, that's the way to go. That's the time right there, baby.
We got to start.
That is what you call choking. Look at that. That's getting it.
Bassmaster Classic 2013, the World Championship of Bass Fishing. We are in Northeast Oklahoma. Tulsa is our host city. This is our water. This is our playing field right here, 45,000 acres of the Grand Lake of the Cherokees. Super cold conditions the first 2 days of this Classic. Michael Iaconelli was the man who was tied for the lead after one day's competition with Cliff Pace. But a slow start for Michael Iaconelli today, in part because of some frozen equipment. He has done his best to try to right the ship and get things going with mixed results so far. He's in 2nd place. He's 5 pounds behind Pace.
And don't look now, Iaconelli's buddy Brandon Polinick starting to mount a charge midday on day 2 of competition here at the Classic. And Tommy Sanders, Brandon Polinick fishing an area just around the corner from the takeoff, doesn't even need this bass.
I don't think he's going to help, though. He's not fat enough. He's skinny.
And now our first look at the defending champion of the Bassmaster Classic 2012, Chris Lane. We did not see him on day 1 because he had a disaster day on day 1. No fish, but he is making amends for that right now.
Making amends, and he said he was mentally just trashed from the weather on day number 1. Said he fished too fast. He has slowed down here on day number 2, and he has wailed on him. Now over to Kevin VanDam, who had a fantastic practice, literally catching 20 to 25 pounds a day, and he used the word, it was pretty easy to do that throughout practice. Not the case here on day number 2.
You know, on conditions like this, it's not like they're going to be real aggressive, so I just need them to get in that zone. With that jerkbait, they can't help but bite it. The fish will move up and down on these places all day long, and you just got to be there at the right time. When they move up, and if there's some shad in the area, whew, you can get well in a hurry.
A little bit yesterday, a whole lot today. We hear guys saying my timing has not been good. Is that another way of saying things are slipping out of my control here?
Well, if you look at what VanDam has today so far, you hear the statement all the time, you can't win, but you can lose the Classic on days 1 or 2. VanDam right now, Tommy Sanders, does not have a limit of bass. He has 3 bass in the live well. He was literally culling day 1 of this tournament. He was culling within the first hour and a half.
Currently, we've got him unofficially right around 3rd place. He's never been above that point so far in these proceedings. First day and second day of the Classic.
I can't do none of that Iaconelli stuff, man. It's not my nature. He's not that big.
Well, he's having a better time than he has been having. As a matter of fact, that's a little bit of a minor comeback for Kevin VanDam. With that fish, he moves into 2nd place, just 3.5 pounds behind our leader, Cliff Pace, and now the story of Michael Iaconelli, which has been up and down all day long.
Iaconelli fishing between Shangri-La and Duck Creek predominantly the entire event so far. And oh no, Tommy Sanders, Iaconelli with mechanical issues early this morning, absolutely composed himself, put a few fish in the boat, really got his mind right, but he is back with mechanical issues, and I don't know how to put it. Who would not struggle with this in the Bassmaster Classic?
You dog!
Well, between the equipment problems, the dog, the world can seem against you sometimes.
You don't know. It could have been a bad dog, but if you really look at it, you're in the Bassmaster Classic. You're the day 1 leader. Things spinning out of control potentially for Mike Iaconelli.
I need him. I mean, I'm dead. Can he help me? I mean, this is the Classic. You know what I mean? Yeah. Can he help me? Please ask him if he can help me out.
What do you want to do, Ike? You want to get?
I need another boat.
You want to get in my boat?
Yeah.
Can he get in my boat? Okay, we'll do it. All right. Thanks, Trip. He said we got to demonstrate the kill switch. Check my live wells. You move the fish.
All right. You want to look at this, Marty or Wes?
Yep.
Empty.
Empty.
Let's sort this out here. What he's doing is he's moving from his boat, now disabled, into the boat of the camera person who was following him.
Unbelievable day, man. Honestly, think about his day so far.
Been tough, up and down, and mostly down for Michael Iaconelli. Still, he's in 4th place. He's not completely out of touch with the leader, Cliff Pace. We got a lot more on the way. We're heading closer and closer to weigh-in time on this second, very important day of the Classic, but right now we bid farewell to one of the stalwarts of bass.
32 years at or near the top. In almost all sports, that would be unthinkable. But in bass fishing, we have a remarkable exception, and his name is Denny Brauer. He got his start in Nebraska, a brick mason with a real talent for bass fishing. When he won 2 state championships in the Bass Federation, he had put together the confidence to make the plunge into pro angling. And during the next 3 decades, he built not only a legacy for himself, but built up the sport of bass fishing in a meaningful way.
Ah, baby! Look at that toad! Woo!
Getting to know Denny as a peer instead of just a hero and a competitor has really been special.
I need some heart pills or something. God, what a fish.
His record of accomplishments includes an astonishing 17 tournament wins and the Toyota Tundra Bassmaster Angler of the Year Award in 1987. He was the first angler to amass $1 million in winnings. And in 1998 on High Rock Lake in North Carolina, he won the Bassmaster Classic.
Denny Brauer has done it.
You know, that's the guy I want to be someday.
It's incredible what Denny's been able to achieve in his career, there's no doubt.
He won a lot, and he gave a lot to the public profile of the sport, teaching hundreds of thousands of aspiring anglers how to flip a jig or pick apart new water.
I learned a lot about what it takes to win from Denny Brauer because he has that attitude. You know, he's not afraid to go out and finish last.
He was good at it, is good at it, but most importantly, he could back it all up. And in case anyone forgot that point, he drove it home again 2 years ago with a dramatic Bassmaster Elite Series win on the Arkansas River.
Denny Brauer is your champion!
But after 5 back surgeries and a knee replacement, who could begrudge him the opportunity to kick back a bit and spend some time off the road? Well done, and congratulations to a guy who showed us and the rest of the world how it's done.
Make some noise for the flipping power of Denny Brauer!
Gosh, thank you, folks. That was an awesome ovation. That really does mean a lot. I'm so fortunate to be able to really make a living doing this, what a lot of people love to do just for fun. So I want to thank you fans. We've got I think the sport of bass fishing has probably got the best fans of any sport in the world. They're very, very loyal. They're very polite, courteous, and that means a lot. This whole deal would not happen without you folks, and we do truly appreciate. I thank you for that.
You're watching second day coverage of the World Championship of Bass Fishing, the Bassmaster Classic. Third day is when we crown the champion. Coverage of that day coming up tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. That's the Pensacola Dam on the Grand Lake of the Cherokees, not far from there. It's where we find one of our pre-tournament favorites, Mike McClellan. He's got a lot of experience. This is, in fact, his home lake. Lives across the border in Arkansas. He comes into this one trying to get himself back into the top.
The conditions are so tough to fish early in the morning right now. I mean, as the day warms up, I mean, you can definitely start fishing a lot more effectively, and that's a big key to it. You know, you try to do the best you can under the conditions you're put up against, but it definitely doesn't help. There's one. Right kind, he just ain't very big. We'll take him though. 2 of them and 3 6-pounders, and we'll be right where we need to be anyway. Big old spotted bass. That right there might be what wins me $500,000 this week.
Mike McClellan won the very first Bassmaster Elite Series event on these waters, and he did it by fishing very, very slow, painfully slow. And as we look at Cliff Pace and his success on this second day of competition, you got to think, Mark Zona, that's due at least in part to his ability to fish very, very painfully slow.
There's a couple main reasons for this right now. If you're to look over Cliff Pace's shoulder within 100 yards of the main lake, and he said the number one factor when you come off of the main lake, just literally one cove, 2 coves, getting on these secondary points, the temperature will spike 1 degree, and he said it's a comfort deal for these bass. Well, right now we're going to take a look at our Humminbird Advanced View, go under the water here. So many of our leaders concentrating on that 3 to 9 foot range. Jason Christie, Hank Cherry, Kevin VanDam. Well, Cliff Pace, he's on the outer realm from 10 to 25 feet of water, taking that 1/2 ounce V&M football jig, throwing it out. And if you look at that jig, has a little bit of orange in it to make it look like a crawdad. He said that was critical. The other thing, dragging it painfully slow through all that rock, and when he would hit a little piece of brush, he would just hold it there and dunk. That's when those fish would eat. And really, he's constantly used the word commit. I need to commit to what I'm doing, whether it's throwing the jig and then throwing the jerkbait. And for the first time today, Cliff Pace is going to pick a jerkbait up. And he said, I'm just not getting a lot of bites a day. Every now and then, I'll catch a little one, then I'll catch a giant. It's mixed up, but I have to commit to my game plan.
Cliff Pace's lead has been as much as 6 pounds today. Now it's down to 2 pounds.
The temperature being higher definitely seems to help the jerkbait bite. It makes a fish kind of position a little bit, a little bit shallower where you can actually get a jerkbait to them. A jerkbait's one of those lures that won't run but a certain depth. It's not like a deep diving crankbait that you can put on the bottom in 20 foot. For a jerkbait to have the right action, getting it deeper than about 8 foot is pretty challenging. That's the right kind right there. That's the ones we're fishing for. It's just hard to get a bite. We need one more.
So Cliff Pace later in the day, finally picking up something a little bit different. We will follow him. He is our leader in the second day of competition. Meanwhile, over to Jason Christie, very popular in these parts, a master on this Grand River system. And what's going on with him? What have we seen from him today? Not as spectacular as yesterday.
Well, really, it's what we've seen all week long. Even in practice, there's been windows, and we've talked about those windows. Really, the first hour and a half, and then from about 1 o'clock all the way up till the guys got to put their boats on the rack, windows of opportunity. Then there's a dead span in there, really between 10 and noon, where it's just painfully slow. If you watch these guys working their jerkbaits, very, very lethargic. The warmer the water is, you can speed up, but at 38 to 41 degrees, very slow.
I'm kind of waiting. I mean, if we ain't gonna get no wind, I'm kind of waiting for the sun to get everything rolling. And then we're going to go back to the general area that I fished yesterday. I mean, this was good in practice too, and I didn't fish it yesterday. I was just trying to run some new stuff.
And like one of the favorites, Kevin VanDam, Jason Christie having a brutal day 2 of the Classic. And almost every single bass you're seeing caught right now on the jerkbaits, not getting the bait real good, getting that little back hook, fish not dialing in with lack of wind. And Jason Christie still without a limit in the boat.
Man, they're going to get bigger.
Kevin VanDam talked about it, the lack of wind. Obviously, it's affected Jason Christie as well. Again, he's a local with so many different places to fish. It's got to be a little bit harder for him to sort it all out.
One of the problems that I'm having is I can't bypass history going down the lake. I want to run 4 miles and I see a place that I caught them and I know it has potential, and when the wind blows, you can be a hero. I've not caught a fish in 2 days off history, and tomorrow, I think in the morning, turn the GPS off and I'm gonna run down the lake and go fishing. Stop! Day 1 Bassmaster Classic, first 5 minutes. It's on, baby. There are 25-pound sacks weighed in here often, and I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying it's a possibility. I still believe somebody this week is gonna bust the 23 to 25.
You're watching the 2013 Bassmaster Classic, presented by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Tulsa.
Hey, we're checking out right now. It's Saturday morning, second day of the Bassmasters Classic. Cold as heck out here, but this is what we live for all year long, just to make it to the Bassmasters Classic. Right now, I'm in contention to win. Look at all these fans out here, man. It's unbelievable. It's as cold as it is. Everybody's here. This is what we do. Go! Go!
2 of the Bassmaster Classic 2013, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Coming together.
That stinks. Something fierce. No doubt in my mind what that was. That was her. That was Josephine.
Josephine.
You can tell from his demeanor right there, Hank Cherry, who has been running with the big dogs so far in this tournament, doing a great job, feeling like things are just slowing down, stagnating for him just a little bit. And look at that group of boats who are following Jason Christie. Again, he's one of the pre-tournament favorites. If there is a local favorite, it is definitely Jason Christie. Had so much success on these waters. So many people, not just here, but around the country, picking him. Everyone's following him. Everyone thinks he can get it done here. What's he got to overcome, Mark?
Christie said he expected to win this tournament. He truly did. The most pressure that he ever had through this event, he said he put on himself. And really, the conditions that he's run into so far today are just brutal. You know, this time of year, you want low pressure like we had throughout practice. Clouds, wind. So far today, it is a typical post-front situation, and the lake has shut down, at least for any somewhat aggressive techniques. Jason Christie said he was coming to this tournament with one technique in mind.
Man, I fished this lake long enough to know that they just got to bite. I mean, it's all about the weather. It's gotten slick, calm. You know, there's places that you could probably sit down and throw a jig, but that's just not me. I mean, I have more confidence throwing a jerk bait. That's probably not very smart, but that's what I'm gonna do. I'm either gonna catch them or I ain't on jerkbait. I wish I'd have started here this morning. I almost did, but I talked myself out of it. There's a good one.
Fish on there. We'll see what size this turns out to be for Jason Christie, but for the most part, this part of the day, he's just like Hank Cherry. He just feels a little stagnant, can't get the size up.
And he said the best and the worst of the spectators is when you're catching them, you can feed off of that energy. But when you're struggling like Christie has today, he said it's like having 300 eyes burning the back of your skull.
Yeah, you'd hate to feel like you're boring all those people, but I'm sure that's part of the pressure these guys feel. They come for a show. They come to the Bassmaster Classic, the World Championship, to see something. When you have a slow period, it kind of gets you down. It's something you've got to push through.
You know, my goal after the first day was just to stay in contention, as that's the same goal for the second day. Grand Lake is a lake that you just want to stay close in a multi-day event because a big bag is possible at any time. I'm there, you know, I'm close. I also know that it's not going to be easy, you know, it's going to be a fight, and it's going to take all the right decisions.
You're watching the 2013 Bassmaster Classic, presented by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Tulsa.
The 43rd edition of the Bassmaster Classic, presented by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Tulsa. Tulsa is our host city this year, and this is our playing field. Grand Lake of the Cherokees, just up the turnpike from Tulsa, going out of the ramp in Grove. We got a local favorite, a big one, Jason Christie. Christie gets off to just exactly the kind of start he wants. A few moments later, though, the loss of one really good fish would hurt his chances.
Come here, sweetie.
And on day number one, that bass right there would prove to be the turning point throughout the afternoon. It would leave the door open for two big-time Elite Series anglers, one of them from Petal, Mississippi, Cliff Pace, 21 pounds and 8 ounces, and he would be matched by Michael Iaconelli with an exact catch.
Iaconelli, of course, already owns a Classic title, and starting day two, though, was not a Classic experience for him. All sorts of equipment problems exacerbated by the cold weather. That just opened the door again for Cliff Pace.
Exactly. While Iaconelli was working on his trolling motor most of the morning, Cliff Pace was stacking chips in a big way, and you'll notice Cliff Pace so far fishing different from almost every other angler in the top 5.
You mentioned the consistency of Cliff Pace. Here's a man who has won money, who has made the cut in 75% of the tournaments he has entered. That puts him in the top 10%.
From there, we're going to run back up the lake. other anglers trying to make a move today. From the Bass Nation, Jonathan Carter.
Hank Cherry of North Carolina, maybe he wasn't on so many people's radar either. Qualified through the Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Opens, as did this man, Tracy Adams, also a resident of North Carolina. All of them hitting big today. Mike McClellan, one of the local favorites from just across the border in Arkansas. And Kevin VanDam possesses 2 out of the last 3 Classic titles, and he's won on Grand Lake of the Cherokees.
And on day number 2, this could be a very, very dangerous situation for a lot of the competitors throughout practice. This lake had a lot of wind and the fish were very, very shallow and aggressive. And right now, with slick conditions, high skies, right now is a critical time throughout this weekend's competition.
Jason Christie, with all his experience on Grand Lake of the Cherokees, should be able to deal with it. He's currently in 5th place.
I think the word to describe the entire day, not just Christie, has been a day of inconsistency. Christie hooks up right here. He will need every precious ounce he can get. A lot of these anglers, they're going to be digging themselves out of a hole. That solid fish right there. They will be digging themselves out of a hole on day number 3. And really, Christie has ran all over the lake from Shangri-La down to the dam, has covered a lot of water, really never settling in on one certain area.
It's a good one right there that will help his cause. A few moments ago, he was 10 pounds behind our leader, Cliff Pace. That's going to allow him to maybe knock a pound or 2 off of that deficit.
Jason Christie with a pretty good upgrade right there. From there, we're going to head over to Mike Iaconelli, which, Sanders, I don't know how to put it. The only word that describes the day Iaconelli's gone through is bipolar. Early this morning, right off the bat, which was his key fishing time on day number 2, big-time mechanical issues. Then he kind of got the wheels back on the bus, as we said earlier in the show, and then he ran into difficulties once again at about noon.
Mike Iaconelli started the day tied with Cliff Pace for first place, a 21-pound, 8-ounce bag of fish on day number 1. As you say, he missed that important bite window to sort of keep pace with Pace and lost out on a lot when that happened.
Well, this dog came out barking, and I didn't like it. I yelled at the dog. I said, "Bad dog." I want to fail on my own. I don't want to fail because of some trolling motor issue. There's a good one. Oh my God, I found it. Oh my God. Never give up! Never give up! Look at that thing, it's 5-pounder. It's an easy call. Helps. That helps tremendously.
How about Michael Iaconelli with a good keeper after all the distractions and setbacks on this second day? It's our Evan Williams Bourbon Shot of the Day.
Honestly, any bass fisherman in the country would need to see a psychiatrist after the day that he has had out on the water.
You think about all that, but still, hats off to Iaconelli.
Absolutely.
With that fish right there, you know, he had fallen 6 or 7 pounds behind Pace with that one right there. Hey, he's pulled up within 3 pounds of Cliff Pace. So Michael Iaconelli has gone through all of the hardships and come out in pretty decent shape.
Going to run out right now to Cliff Pace. Cliff Pace still really with 4 fish in the boat. Granted, he has got meat. He's got some solid fish. Cliff Pace looking for number 5 late in the day on day number 2.
Don't you do that. Just come here. Just please come here. Yes! That's helping right there, baby. Yeah. Don't you do that. Just come here. Just please come here. Yes!
I'm sorry. I think my body would have exploded right there. I honestly do.
Talk about a guy in control of his physical person out there on the water. Cliff Pace is not going to be affected by the ups and downs of the second day of the Bassmaster Classic. We have lots of ups coming. We got a big crowd in the B.O.K. Center in the heart of Tulsa, and they are ready to see some fish. Will it be on par with what they saw on day number 1? Will it be as close? Not at all. Someone's going to take a big, big lead when we come back.
You're watching the 2013 Bassmaster Classic, presented by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Tulsa. The Bassmaster Classic, presented by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Tulsa, is brought to you by Toyota, Bass Pro Shops, Humminbird, and by Mercury.
Our 53 anglers have made it back down the turnpike to the B.O.K. Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Today, the second day of the Classic, huge crowd in attendance. As a matter of fact, the place is so full that the fire marshals have shut the doors. This crowd is revved up and ready to go as we prepare to bring out Brandon Palaniuk to weigh in his fish from day 2.
Powerful Brandon Palaniuk rolling around in one of the most tricked out Toyota Tundras on tour and got some of the loudest fans in this place. Looking for 12, 10, 19 pounds, 10 ounces. Feel the power of Brandon Palaniuk once again in the mix of the things at the Bassmaster Classic. Young Gun Extreme getting it done in spades with 36 pounds, 4 ounces. Dude, you are leading the Bassmaster Classic and smiling from ear to ear.
I don't even know how to talk about it, man. I got 7 bites yesterday, and I got 7 bites today. My game plan going into this was 5 bites a day. You can't ask for any more than that.
How many people think that Brandon Palaniuk can do this deal?
This crowd obviously big believers in Brandon Palaniuk, fishing in his 3rd Bassmaster Classic. In his first Classic, he was right in it amongst the top 5 on the final day. As we bring in Michael Iaconelli. He rolls in after a day which has been up and down, to say the least. He's had a lot to overcome. He's tried to get it back together. Has he gotten it back together enough to hang on to the lead?
13 pounds, 11 ounces. Gonna fall short, but in 3rd place with 35 pounds, 3 ounces. Go Ike for Mike Iaconelli.
This is fishing, and at the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen. You know, today was kind of a goofy day, and I'm actually real fortunate to salvage that weight I had. So, you know, tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to go out and try to catch 25 pounds, and we'll see where the chips lie.
Who thinks Iaconelli can get us 25 pounds? I want to wish you luck, and we will see you back here.
Michael Iaconelli putting a hopeful face to wrap up his day, but you can tell deep down inside he's disappointed with the outcome. Meanwhile, we have watched Cliff Pace get on his game plan and execute perfectly. Cliff Pace in a great spot.
21 pounds, 12 ounces.
The good Lord's blessed me for 2 days, and I really hope that it'll happen again tomorrow. It would mean a lot to me to win this tournament, and I know it will mean a lot to the entire other 52 competitors. You know, Wes, what we all truly are is true competitors, and I know tomorrow for me to win, it's going to have to go my way. It's not something that's going to be given to me, not by any of the anglers anyway.
We're giving it up for Cliff Pace, and you have to give it up for him. It's all about positioning yourself to win the Bassmaster Classic on the final day as we take a look at the final tally from day 2 at the Classic. A full 7-pound lead for Cliff Pace and Mark Zona. Is that prohibitive?
Well, Cliff Pace did this under absolutely horrible bass fishing conditions. Calm, frigid water, and a lot of anglers we were watching absolutely plummeted down the leaderboard. And Tommy Sanders, how about Cliff Pace with the Carhartt Big Bass of the day, 7 pounds and 2 ounces. And not only that, my friend, he also has the Berkley Heavyweight Bag of the day, 21 pounds and 12 ounces. An incredible day on Grand Lake of the Cherokees. And one thing's for sure, Cliff Pace has stuck to his game plan the entire event. Right now, he is all business going into the final day.
The crowd likes it. I'll tell you why. 21-8 on day number 1, 21-12 on day number 2. Cliff Pace, your leader after 2 days in the Bassmaster Classic. And Cliff, in all your preparations, all your anticipation, and there's plenty of it heading for a Classic, did you imagine anything like this?
No, I really didn't. I mean, I thought I could catch a few, and I had a fair practice, but I've really been blessed the last 2 days.
Cliff, the one thing that after you weighed in on day number 1, you kept using one word, and that's you need to commit to what you're doing on Grand Lake. Explain exactly what you mean by that.
Well, for me, it's been committing to the ways that I can catch a big one. There's ways you can get bites on this lake right now, but I don't think that they provide you with the potential to catch a 20-pound stringer. And sometimes it's easier to get those bites, and you can get way behind. I mean, I took a big risk the last 2 days to catch what I've caught. I really have.
How hard is that to do in the Bassmaster Classic, day 2? You said you're not getting as many bites. To stay doing that mentally?
It is very difficult. If you get an opportunity in one of these tournaments to feel like you've really figured out how to fish to win, you need to go do it. I've not done it in the past and looked back on it and regretted it. And I've done it for 2 days and it's worked, and I'm hoping I can do it one more day.
You have caught 2 slaunches. Is it fair to say? Two legitimate Grand Lake slaunches. Talk to us about those 2 bites. What kind of stuff they're hanging on?
Well, most of them are on staging areas. You know, these fish, and I don't know this because I wasn't here, but I watched the weather all through the fall and all through the winter for this lake. And, you know, we had a lot of warm weather up here about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And they're just in a bad frame of mind right now. They don't like the cold weather, but they're staying where they're supposed to be. And you just got to aggravate when I'm into eating your stuff.
Well, dude, you've got a 7-pound lead in the Bassmaster Classic. Did somebody hit you with a trank gun behind the stage? How are you this calm right now?
Well, I mean, it's great to lead the Bassmaster Classic on day 2. It really is. It's awesome to be tied for it on day 1, but it really matters tomorrow, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
All right, it's all about the commitment. You're committed to tomorrow. When you qualified for your first Bassmaster Classic, you got a fabulous first season on the Elite Series. You made the cut in every event but one. Do you remember which place you didn't make the cut in?
I do. It was this lake right here, and you know, I've always had this one kind of on my list when we came back, and I think I got even.
You got your revenge already. Tomorrow he goes for the win. Final day of the Bassmaster Classic. Cliff Pace with a 7-pound lead. Let's hear it for him. Well, can he do it? Cliff Pace has put himself in position to win. We'll see if he can bring home the trophy. Coverage tonight on ESPN2 at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss it.
Yes. That's the kind right there, baby.